السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. أهلا وسهلا بكم في برنامج درس على الهواء. درسنا اليوم عن اللغة الإنجليزية مهارات للصف الحادي عشر، فأهلا ومرحبا بكم. Now let us start our lesson by talking about the objectives. So in the objectives we are going to discuss the following. First of all, we are going to listen and read for details and about phobias. Then we will write sentences using relative clauses, comprehend the usage of negative questions, and finally reading for guests. Okay, now let us move to the warm-up. In our warm-up activities here, I want you now, my students, to answer these two questions. And the first question is, what is phobia? And the second question, write two examples. So now, dear students, I want you to bring your notebook and to be ready and to answer these two questions, okay? Now, I'm waiting for you. So let's start.
It is a strong, irrational.
Okay, let's start again. Are you ready? Okay.
A phobia is a type of anxiety disorder. It is a strong, irrational fear of something that poses little or no real danger. There are many specific phobias. Acrophobia is a fear of heights. Agoraphobia is a fear of public places, and claustrophobia is a fear of closed-in places. If you become anxious and extremely self-conscious in everyday social situations, you could have a social phobia. Other common phobias involve tunnels, highway driving, water, flying, animals, and blood. People with phobias try to avoid what they are afraid of. If they cannot, they may experience panic and fear, rapid heartbeat, shortness of breath, trembling, a strong desire to get away. Phobias usually start in children or teens and continue into adulthood. The causes of specific phobias are known, but they sometimes run in families. Treatment helps most people with phobias. Options include medicines, therapy, or both.
So we have finished from the video, and I hope that you now can answer the two questions. The first question, what is phobia? Okay, I think you have got with a simple meaning. It's a type of anxiety disorder. Okay, so what do I mean by anxiety disorder? Is a mental disorder characterized by a significant feelings of anxiety and fears. Okay, also we have here a strong irrational fears of something. So what do I mean by irrational? Irrational means what? Not based on a logical thoughts. Okay, so it's not clear why this person has this kind of phobia. Okay, now let us move to the examples. So I think you have written some examples, but here you don't have to write the scientific names. You have just to write a simple answer. Okay, let's see. We have here acrophobia, okay, which is fear of heights, and we have agoraphobia. Agoraphobia is a fear of public places, for example, in transport, okay, places, for example, traveling in public transport, okay. Claustrophobia is fear of small spaces, for example, when you are in an elevator, okay. And finally, we have here social phobia. This type of phobia refers to the social settings, for example, talking to people, interacting with them, attending social gathering. Okay, Now, so now you know, you have a clear idea about phobia. Let us now move to task number 4. Dear students, open your students book, page number 20. We will do now task number 4, okay? So, as you can see here in the task, you have to complete this note, and so you have first to read through the notes, and as you can see here at the bottom, we have here some things that can help you to write, do such a listening task, okay? Making notes. How to make notes? Making notes in exams, okay, can help you to remember information to answer questions. So, it is very important to write notes, dear students. Why? Because when you listen, because this is very important to remember the answers, okay? Here, first of all, you have to listen and read for the main points, okay? So, we have here listening and reading. And as you know, in the exam, okay, you have first to read in order to understand, okay, the questions and to know what is the answer, okay? Also, you have to listen carefully to the main points. Then, number 2, note down keywords, okay? So, you know that keywords are very important, and as a student, you should know them. So, in the main point, there are keywords, and in the keywords, you have to add, for example, some additional information, examples, for example, examples, or something that is related to the keywords. Finally, here you have to use abbreviations. What do I mean by abbreviations? Is, for example, here, instead of writing the word equal, you can write these 2 dashes, okay? Also, you can write, for example, instead of writing television, the whole word, you can write TV, okay? Or instead of writing information technology, you can write IT, okay? Good. Now, let us go back to the task. Listen again and make notes. So we are going to listen to a podcast. What is a podcast? It is a digital audio file. So we will listen to this podcast and we will complete the notes. So here we have we have here phobia. Phobia is fear of things that also you can what? You can guess the information. Okay. Here we have got fear of things that, try to guess the answer. Also, we have common phobia. What do I mean by common? Which is known by many of the people, or many people. And we need 3 here, okay? Then we have physical signs. These physical signs appear on the person who have phobia, okay? Sorry, who has phobia. For example, sweating, okay? There is another thing also. You have to mention this and to write it down. Or finally, we will write about unusual phobia. Phobia which are not common, okay? Good. Now let us listen and complete the task.
Unit 2.3. Hello and welcome to the Best of In Your Mind series podcasts. Thanks for downloading it and we hope you enjoy it.
What are you afraid of? Sharks? Spiders? And how do you react when you're afraid? Do you want to run away and hide? Well, psychologists who understand fear and our reactions to it say that some fears are quite normal. For example, sharks are large, frightening, dangerous animals which sometimes attack swimmers, so fear is a normal reaction. But some people experience fear or phobia of things or situations that aren't dangerous. Most spiders, in Europe anyway, aren't dangerous and can't hurt you. But arachnophobia, which is the name for fear of spiders, is a very common phobia. You've probably heard of lots of the more common phobias. As well as fear of spiders, there's fear of small spaces, claustrophobia, or fear of flying. Psychologists say that because small spaces or flying aren't really dangerous, the fear we feel is in our minds. On the other hand, the reactions we show are definitely physical. People who suffer from phobias show the typical physical signs of fear, such as sweating or feeling sick. But can you imagine feeling sick with fear when the sun shines? That's one of the more unusual phobias. In fact, people can be frightened of very unusual things. Clowns, having a shower, flowers. The list is very, very long. The good news is that you can train your mind not to be afraid of things with the help of various therapies.
Okay, I think you have, you know now the answer. So, can you guess what is the complement for the first line? Phobia, fear of things that, okay, that aren't dangerous, okay? Second thing here, common phobias. Okay, there are fear of what? Okay, you can see the picture here. Fear of spiders. What else? Fear of small spaces, for example, elevator or the lift. Okay, and finally, we have fear of flying. Okay, physical signs or physical symptoms that appear on the person who has phobia, for example, here sweating, and what? What do you think, my students? Okay, and feeling sick. Okay, feeling sick. Good. Now let us move to unusual phobias. Unusual phobias. Here we have the clowns. Okay, let us see here the picture of the clowns. You can see it. It's clear for you. Then we have having a shower. Okay, and finally flowers. So imagine that a person have a phobia of flowers. Okay, so now we have done this task. Let us move to another task, which is task number 5. I want you to open your student's book, page number 20. Okay, now look at the photos in exercise 1 again, then read text quickly. Are any of things mentioned in the text? So you can see here 3 pictures. The first picture is a picture of, on the right, it's a picture of a dog, and then we have the clown, and under them we have the picture of a shark. Are any of these things mentioned in the text or in this letter? Let us now see. Okay, so you can see this letter is from Sally to Dr. Stevens. Okay, it is from Sally to Dr. Stevens. So let us have a quick look and try to find what the answer. Okay, so before we look quickly at this letter, let us go to the glossary. Here in the glossary, some new words that you can you will have definition for them here. Therapist is a person who treats psychological problems. Okay, and so such as phobia. Okay, scared means what? Scared, being afraid. Okay, or having fear. Self, one's being, or it's about a person. Nerves, feeling of nervousness or stress. Terrified, very scared, very frightened. To suggest, for example here, give an idea. Okay, to give an idea, to give a plan for other people to think about, or for example here to propose. Good. Now let us have a quick look on this letter. So Sally has a problem and she wrote this letter to Mr. Stevens. Okay, so who is Dr. Stevens, do you think, my student? Okay, we can see here in the title, we have here, Fighting Fears, some tips from therapist. So, Dr. Stevens is a therapist. Okay, good. Now let us have a quick look and try to find the things that is mentioned in the text from the three pictures. Okay. When I was young, I was bitten by a dog. So we have here the word dog. Do you have any other things in the text? Okay. So most of the text is about the dogs. So Sally has a problem with dogs. So we can say that the answer here is dog. Good. Now, let us move to another task. Open your student's book, page number 21. Go to task number 7. Now, let us read. Read the text again, complete the notes, compare with your partner's note. Okay? So, here we have a replay from Dr. Jenny Stevens, okay, to Sally. Okay? So, he wrote to Sally, sorry, she wrote to Sally in order to answer her or to give her solution. Okay? So let us first read the note. Dr. Jenny Stevens is what? So we here it's written a. So you should know what does he do? Oh, sorry, what does she do? Okay? Then we have to find two ways to fight phobias, to overcome phobia, okay? To deal with phobia, okay? So we have here two. Good. Then we have here self-help strategies. So these strategies can help Sally to overcome her problem. So there are three: to face your, then learn to, and finally think. Good. Now, so from the previous letter, we know that Dr. Stevens is what? Is a therapist. So the first answer here is what? A therapist. Can you find the answer, dear students? Okay. Let's have a quick look on this text, and I want you to concentrate on the last paragraph. Okay. So you can find the word therapist in the last paragraph. Okay. And you can write it yourself. So this is the first one, a therapist. Then we need to write here two ways to fight phobias. Okay. So let us look at paragraph number 1. The good news is that fighting your phobias. So here we have some keywords, okay, that can help us, okay, to complete this question. So fight your phobias is something you can do yourself, okay? Self-help therapy, which is very effective. So you can guess, my students, that self-help therapy is, okay, is what? Is the way that we use in order to deal with the problem or deal with the phobia that Sally has, okay? So first one is what? Self-help, and the second one is what? Therapy, okay? Self-help and therapy. So Sally could help herself, or if she couldn't, she can what? Have a therapy. Good. Now let us move to number 3. Here we have to find what? Self-help strategies. So let us complete reading. Here are some strategies. So you will notice that we have here 3 strategies. Okay. So first of all, we need to complete the first one. Face your. And here we have also face your. So the answer here is what? Fears. Good. So it's fears or fear. Then number 2, learn to. Learn to what? We have here relaxation exercises. So we have here the word relaxation. It's a noun. Now, dear students, do you know the verb of the word, of the word relaxation? Yes, it is what? Relax. Good. It's relax. And finally, let us now move to number 3. Think. Here we need an adverb. So we have here positive. We have here positive thinking. Okay. So think, we need an adverb, and positive is an adjective. So what shall we add, dear students? Do you know? Okay, so we should add what? L and Y to make what? To make the adverb. So think positively. Good. Now we have completed this task. Let us move to another task. Good. Now, before we start the other task, let us have some information about relative clauses. And I want you to watch this video. Okay. Then we're going to discuss the differences between defining and non-defining relative clause. Okay. Good. Now let us see the video.
Let's start with 2 examples. This is the boy who won the race. And second example, this is Peter who won the race. Now, to make a long story short, who won the race in the first example is a defining relative clause, and who won the race in the second example is a non-defining relative clause. And now let's look for the differences. Now you notice right away in that second example there's a comma, and that is important. Non-defining relative clauses always have commas between them and the main clause. But outside that comma difference, of course, there's also a difference in meaning. In that first example, this is the boy who won the race. My defining relative clause adds essential information to the main clause. It's information without which I couldn't understand the main clause. We needed to identify the boy. Leave it out, then you have this is the boy. This is the boy is a grammatically correct sentence, but meaning there is none, so we need the defining relative clause in order to be absolutely sure which boy it is we're talking about. Second example, this is Peter who won the race. Now the moment I say this is Peter, Peter is already clearly identified, so the information in my relative clause is not necessary. Non-defining relative clauses are so-called extra information sentences. This is Peter who won the race. Essential information in the defining relative clause, extra information in the non-defining relative clause. Let's continue with a couple of examples, of course. Jim, who we met yesterday, is very nice. Now, first of all, you got your commas here. And the moment you say Jim, the identity is clear, so we have a non-defining relative clause. London, which is the capital of England, is a large city. It's important to know, of course, that London is the capital of England, but here, which is the capital of England, is still extra information. It's not needed for the identity of London because it's got its identity already in the name. It's also important to note that that is not possible in a non-defining relative clause. You can only use the relative pronoun that in the defining relative clause. So it's London, which is the capital of England, is a large city. And a third example, she couldn't read, which surprised me. Now you remember that comma which combination from the second video, and you know that the which here refers to that whole sentence, to the whole fact that she couldn't read, and we need a non-defining relative clause. You need a comma. She couldn't read, which surprised me. Alright, so much for our examples, and now we can actually go for a definition. A non-defining relative clause gives extra information about a noun whose identity we already know. Mr. Simpson, who we met yesterday, seems very nice. We know Mr. Simpson, the identity is clear, we know his name. It needs commas, and it does not allow that. So much for the non-defining relative clause, and we continue with the defining relative clauses, and we've had so many of them throughout that whole series of videos that we can start with the definition right away. A defining relative clause identifies or defines the person or object that we're talking about. It identifies or defines the person or object or maybe the animal that we're talking about. A seaman is somebody who works on a ship. My relative clause here, who works on a ship, is needed for a definition of the seaman. If you leave it out, a seaman is somebody, you've got nothing left over. It's essential information, and it is not separated by commas from the main clause. Alright, I really guess that's all we need to say about the defining relative clauses. The difference between the defining and the non-defining relative clause should be clear by now.
Okay, I hope that you have got an idea of the differences between non-defining relative clause and defining relative clause. Now let us explain this together. I will try to give you a good explanation of relative clause. First of all, why do we need relative clause? It's important to give us information about a person or thing. Okay, let us now see here the example in the first column. Okay, here we have my mother. My mother is what? Is a person. Okay, good. So who has never been to Africa before is going on a trip to Kenya. So the relative clause here, who has never been to Africa before, defines what? The person, which is my mother. Okay, also it can be what? Thing. Like, let us see the second example, my home city. Okay, my home city, okay, it's a thing which is we use here the relative pronoun which is really beautiful, isn't very popular with tourists. Okay, so relative clauses give us information about person or thing mentioned. Good. Also here relative clauses start with relative pronouns and adverbs. The relative pronouns, here we have who, which, that, and whose. Okay, we'll have more example later on. We have also relative adverbs, when and where. Okay, good. Now, what is non-defining relative clause? Non-defining relative clause give us additional information. So, as you can see here, in the first example, who, okay, so this one, okay, who has never been to Africa before, give additional information, okay, about my mother. Why it is additional information? Because the sentence, look here, look at the second line, the sentence still makes sense if the relative clause is removed. So we can say here, my mother is going on a trip to Kenya. Okay, is going on a trip to Kenya. This sentence is grammatically correct and it's also meaningful. Okay, so the relative clause here just give us what? Additional information. Good, which is non-defining relative clause. Also in the second example, my home city, okay, my home city, which is really beautiful, isn't very beautiful, isn't very popular with tourists. So we can say, or we can see here, which is really beautiful, is a non-defining relative clause, okay? And we can get rid of this clause. And my home city isn't very popular with tourists is grammatically correct, and also it is meaningful. Okay, but you have to notice something, that we put the non-defining relative clause between two commas. Let us look at the first example here, and also in the second example we have here what? We have two commas, one before the relative clause and the other one after the relative clause, and we use here the commas for only what? Non-defining relative clause. Let us now move to the second type, which is defining relative clause. Defining relative clause gives us essential information which is very important. Let us see the example. This is the girl who won the race. Okay, so who won the race is very important, because the sentence here, let us read the second line. The sentence does not make sense without it. Okay, this is the girl. So if we read it in this way, this is the girl, the sentence here is grammatically correct, but it is not meaningful. So who won the race is very important. So this clause is, or this defining this relative clause is very important to know more information about what? The girl. And sorry, it is essential, because it is defined the word, or the word girl. Okay, good. And it is not separated by what? It is not separated by commas. Okay, we don't see here any commas before and after the relative clause. Good. So defining relative clause gives us essential information. Okay, the sentence does not make sense without it. Okay, and it is not separated by commas. Whereas non-defining relative clause give additional information or extra information. The sentence still makes sense if the relative clause is removed. And finally, it is separated by commas, and you need to know this. Okay, good. Now, let us move to the task. Open your student's book, page number 21, task number 11. Okay, you have look at the example, then rewrite each pairs, okay, of sentences. Put the second sentence inside the first one. So we have here, for example, Dr. Stevens answer letters from teenagers. Okay, this is the first sentence. The second sentence, she is a therapist. So we have to put the second sentence inside the first one in order to make what? One sentence. Okay, good. And also we have to use the relative pronoun. The relative pronoun here is what? Who. Okay, so first of all we start with what? Dr. Stevens. You will write here Dr. Stevens. Then, because this is non-defining relative clause, we will use what? Commas. After the comma, okay, we are going to use what? Let us see here. Look at the second sentence. She. We have Dr. Stevens. So this one is repeated. We have to get rid of it. Okay, and here we have the S, which means what? Which means what? She is here. Okay, so it is, and so let us write the sentence. Dr. Stevens, who, start with the word who, or so with the relative clause who, then is a therapist, comma, and we will complete the rest of the sentence. Answers letters from teenagers. Let us start with the first question. Okay, here we have Sally is scared of dogs. She is from London. So we have to put she is from London, okay, inside the first sentence, and we should use what? A comma. Okay, first of all we will write what first? Sally. Then we will add what? Comma. After that, we will write the second sentence. Is there any repeated? So can we repeat, for example, she again here? No, because she refers to whom? To Sally. So we want to define Sally. We will use what? Who. Okay, here. Then, so we'll write here who. Then we will put this sentence after the comma. Okay. Then we will have another comma after the relative clause, and then we will write the rest of the sentence. Let us see here. Sally, who is from London, is scared of dogs. Notice that who refers to a person. Good. Now let us do number 2. Okay, in task number 2 here we have the park is full of dogs. Then we have it is near her house. So which refers to whom? To the park. So it's talking about thing. Okay. So first of all, we will write the park. Then, is there any repeated things here? Yes, we have it, which refers to the word park. And instead of it, we will write what? We will write which. Okay. And don't forget the comma before and after what? Before and after the relative clause. Then we will complete the sentence is full of dogs. Let us see. The park, which is near her house, is full of dogs. Let us now move to question number 3, sentence number 3. Sundays are the worst days for Sally. And the second sentence, people walk their dogs. Is there any repeated thing here? Sundays. No, there's nothing. So we will use here when. When refers to what? To the time. Okay. Okay. And it will explain Sundays. So we write here Sundays, comma. Okay. So we'll put when before the second sentence. Sundays, comma, when people walk their dogs, comma, and then we will write the whole sentence. Okay, good. So let us see. Sundays, when people walk their dogs, are the worst days for Sally. Okay. Let us now move to number 4. Number 4, here we have whose. Okay. So also we have here, Dr. Stevens is a professional therapist. Her office is in Oxford. Okay, so we can get rid of here. Okay, and instead we will write what? Whose, Dr. Stevens, comma, whose office is in Oxford, is a professional therapist. Let us see the answer here. Dr. Stevens, whose office is in Oxford, is a professional therapist. And don't forget to write the 2 commas, okay? Don't forget to write the 2 commas before and after the relative clause. Finally, here we have London has lots of health centers. Sally lives in London. So London and London again here, it's repeated. We get rid of this word. We will write where before the second sentence. Then we'll add here commas after London. We will put this sentence inside the first sentence. So it's going to be London, where Sally lives, has lots of health centers. Let us see the answer here. London, where Sally lives, has a lot of health center. Okay, my students? Good. Now, let us move to task number 2 and 3, page number 22. Okay. Before we start this task, let us read the question, read the dialogue, choose the correct option. Okay. So, they haven't got 2 weeks to prepare. The second one here, Joe hasn't brought the script. Then number 3, Dan doesn't want to do the introduction. So you have to find out what to choose, okay? So let us now listen and complete this task. And I want you at the same time, I want you to read.
Unit 2.4.
Sorry I'm late. Have you been waiting long?
That's okay. We've been playing with your dog. He's really smart.
I know. He's lovely, isn't he?
Yes, he is. Okay, shall we start? We haven't got much time.
We've still got 2 weeks, haven't we?
No, we haven't.
Isn't the presentation on the 18th?
No, it's on the 8th, and today's the 2nd. Joe, have you brought the script?
Oh,
Oh, Joe, you haven't forgotten it again, have you?
sorry. I've got a really bad memory.
It's okay. I've got a copy on my memory stick. And I've got the slideshow on there too. Here you are.
Oh, Holly, you're very organised as usual.
Well, my mum reminded me. Have you been practicing the introduction, Dan?
Oh dear, not really, no.
Don't you want to do it?
I'm not sure. I think I've got a public speaking phobia. You're joking, aren't you? You're not usually shy. Can't I do the slideshow instead? You don't mind, do you? Hey, no problem. I'll do the introduction.
Okay, now let us answer the first one here. I want you now to look at here we have 2 weeks. Let us find it quickly. Yes, we have got here 2 weeks. Then we have still got 2 weeks, haven't we? No, we haven't. Isn't the presentation on the 18th? No, it is on the 8th. So we can say here that they haven't got 2 weeks to prepare. Okay, let us now move to number 2. Joe hasn't brought script. Okay, let us see. Let's find the word script here. We find it here. Joe, have you brought the script? So, oh, Joe, you haven't forgotten it again, have you? Sorry, I have got a really bad memory. So we can say Joe hasn't brought the script. Good. Now let us move to number 3. Okay, dear students. Dan wants or doesn't want to do the introduction. Let us see here we have got the introduction. Okay. Have you been, Holly, have you been practicing the introduction, Dan? Dan, oh dear, no, really no. Don't you want to do it? I am not sure. I think I have got a public speaking phobia, so Dan doesn't want to do the introduction, and it's clear from here. Good. Now, let us move to task number 3. Okay, we have to choose the correct option, then find 2 more questions with this form. Match each question with one of the options. Okay, so dear students, first of all, I will show you this video about negative questions, and then we're going to answer this task.
Let's see how to use and form negative questions. And of course, by negative, we mean using the word not. First, we usually form these questions with the auxiliary or helping verb at the beginning, the word not here in the contracted verb form, short form of full not, and the subject, the main verb, then the rest of the question. You might ask here, why do we use negative questions? They are almost the same as yes/no questions, right? Okay, as a matter of fact, there are reasons for using these questions. First, we use them to express emotions like surprise, anger, and annoyance. Let's see the first example. Can't you finish the project on time? In this case, I am annoyed. He didn't finish on time. 2. Haven't you ever traveled by plane? Wow, this is surprising. I'm surprised. Second, we use the negative questions when we expect the listener to agree with us. Let's see the first example. Don't you think this is a good car? In this case, I'm waiting him to show agreement with my opinion. Let's see the other example. Doesn't this painting look so beautiful? The same as I'm waiting for his response to be agreement or to show an agreement with my opinion, right?
Okay, dear students. So we use here negative question when we expect the listener to agree with us, and also when to express emotions such as surprise, anger, and annoyance. Okay, let us now see the first one. Choose the correct option. So Dan asks, isn't the presentation on the 18th because he is surprised or he expects the listener to agree? So let us see here. Dan, isn't the presentation on the 18th? What do you think, my dear students? Okay, I think he's what? He is surprised. Let us see. Yes, he is surprised. Now, let us have another example. We have to find two more questions, with the same form. And then we have to match each question with one of the options which we have done now. Okay, let us find example quickly in the text. In this dialogue. So we have here, Holly, don't you want to do it? Okay, so what do you think, Holly? She is surprised or she expects the listener to agree? So what do you think, dear students? Yes, she is what? She is surprised. Okay, good. So don't you want to do it? She is surprised. Let us now move to the second one. We have here another one. Can't I do the slide instead? So you don't mind, do you? So what do you think? Dan, what? Expect the listener to agree or he is surprised? Let us see. What do you think? Yes, he expects the listener to agree. Okay. So the last things we are going to do now is to play this game. Okay, sorry, we don't have enough time to complete this game. Thank you, dear students, and I hope I'm going to meet you next time. Take care.